Greetings. This is Body-Culinary, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. And this early days, I've been moving about. I wanted to come on just to share just some of my thoughts on quote-unquote beauty, the beauty standard. And I was just reasoning that I have, over the years, I've traded in beauty. I traded in for confidence. And I'm a big fan of rewriting my narrative, because I realize that these computers that we have in these human suits are highly programmable. It's actually super duper humbling. And so I realize, clarity, wisdom is very hard earned through life experience. You can't Google it. I realized that I traded in beauty for self-confidence, health, and focus. Because somebody else has written the beauty standards. So that's what we're going to just explore. And I invite you to consider this from a place of deep rest and relaxation. When I say rest and relaxation, I mean being at home, slowing down, being able to sit into your breathing of your own existence out here on this 3D plane. Relaxation is so key. So that's the conversation we're going to tap into this morning. So have your water in a wine glass nearby so that you can stay hydrated. And stay tuned for a little bit. You're welcome to always to comment respectfully in the comment section and share your thoughts to any kind of progressive conversation. I don't have the only perspective. And for those of you that are new to this channel, I'm Body-Culinary, chef, personal trainer, mother, natural born woman, a lover of natural living and natural lifestyle. And on this channel, I share my journey of radical self-acceptance, really sitting in the throne of my existence, of how I popped out onto this 3D plane, not only sitting in, but really delve into a deep appreciation of my features. And I invite you all to do the same, whatever your package, however you choose to express. So I share my journey of radical self-acceptance. I also share on this channel encouragement to start, reactivate, cultivate a personal movement practice. Some people call it exercise. I invite you to consider vigorous, joyous movement. Motivation to start a garden, again, because these are very deep therapeutic lifestyle practices, as well as I love to encourage peaceful consumption. For me, what that looks like is consumption of whole, fresh, unprocessed, living, preferably living fruits, whole fruits that you can still recognize the whole food, vegetables, seeds, sprouted legumes, fresh ground herbs, and spices. So whatever ratios, you'll have to decide that for yourself. That is what I have found has worked for me and helped to just like taking a lot off the table with natural hair, not having to be so pre-focused on food. So whole living foods is what cleared up my acne, don't need to diet, all of that. And it's a tremendous tool inside of my toolbox. You'll have to find your sweet spot. So if those are the types of things that you're interested in, as well as what I'm doing with this very fine cottony, it's actually fine and not very dense. Afro cottony textured hair. That's what I share on this channel. And just a quick note, this is my quickie style of the day. So no styling gel, none of that. Still using the cactus juice, just a quick bun. So I do have enough for a bun now. I have a bun. If my hair was still loose natural, I would do very loose double strand twist. The hole that I have is very loose. I can't take any kind of pulling. Got a piece of lint here. I can't take any kind of pulling on my hair. I'm not twisting anything. I have other things to do. So that being said, just wanted to explore this thing of beauty. I realized, saying something about beauty, and here I consider health as my number one quote unquote beauty product. So I was looking recently, I started to accumulate a few things, and I don't like to have too much stuff because it makes me feel claustrophobic. But every now and then I'll play with mascara or to see, play around with makeup. And usually when I try it, you can say I don't know what I'm doing, but it just feels like I can't breathe. My skin can't breathe. And for me, it feels, for the most part, unnatural. Maybe a little mascara, but I've just retrain my eyes to really appreciate my natural features, my eyebrows, my eyelashes, and especially my skin. As someone that's had a lot of acne and cystic acne, I really love to be relaxed in my own skin. Good morning. Good morning. Um, that is one of the reasons. There are many reasons why I'm so passionate about whole, fresh living foods. Very, very simple. Some people might even call it minimalist. Now, I am a chef. I love to be creative with food. I love beautiful food. I can also appreciate the simplicity, and simplicity is a huge principle and tool inside of the toolbox. So I say a lot that health is my number one beauty product. So I can feel relaxed that I can wear something that I have made, things that I have made or I've gotten specially made. Well, I don't need a lot of stuff. If you can maintain a nice, natural, healthy weight, then you don't have to worry about buying more and more clothes. You can feel comfortable in your clothes, that you're not suffocating inside your clothes. By the way, waist beads are great training to assist in that, as well as a way to adorn yourself. But I just realized health, your skin will glow when it is healthiest, whatever stage of life that you are in. If you have acne, as I've had a lot, your body knows what to do, how to regulate itself to fall to a healthy weight. It knows how to clear up acne scars when we just get out of the way and stop stuffing it with things that are masquerading as food. Now, in my practice as a trainer and nutrition consultant over the years, focused on whole, fresh, processed foods for many years, I have found several patterns and several things. I'm always fascinated by what drives consistent, sustainable results, and also how we self sabotage ourselves. So it's been quite a journey for myself, and also reflecting what has worked with my clients. And I realized a lot of what's driving our behaviors are triggers. So I was just reasoning that this whole thing of beauty and a striving, almost like in a sense, that like a maddening kind of way, was striving for quote unquote beauty. And if we unpack that, somebody else has written the standard. Somebody has written the standard on what is beauty. So I decided, even with my first haircut, to opt out and stop driving myself crazy and rewrite my own narrative for my own health, the health of my psyche and my mental and emotional well being, so that I'm not at the whim of whoever is sitting inside of a fashion house, who's deciding what's going to be on the runway. It's too fickle. Sustainable, it's like somebody else is in control of how you feel about yourself, and things are being marketed at you, and images and media is being targeted to tap into something that's very subconscious. So many of us may or may not be aware that most of our behaviors are driven by our subconscious. So certain things, are being tapped in a certain part of our psyche that can trigger insecurities, can trigger fears of abandonment, fears of loneliness, right? A lot of this stuff is triggered by the beauty industry. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, I know in a corporate setting, this will likely not be acceptable. However, I have made a decision on what is acceptable for me, right? I also can acknowledge over the years, even as a young girl, I was affected. I will admit humbly, I was affected by pre-established beauty standards, whether I wanted to be or not. They were already established for me and the other women in my family before I came along. I didn't set up these standards, and I think it's really interesting when I consider, my hair, it tangles. That's what it does. It gets beads, and we call it kitchens, and then we joke, and a lot of times joking and sarcasm is not the healthiest thing, because there's something underneath all the sarcasm. The social teasing of ourselves and putting ourselves down is commonly accepted, especially with Afro women of the diaspora. And as we can see, I know I don't need any more of that. It doesn't feel healthy. It feels depleting. It's a downer. So somebody else has set the standard. So I realized a pattern I have chosen for myself is to constantly rewrite my narrative, to examine even the things that I've said about myself. I'm like, where did that come from? You know, whose thought is that? Is that really my thought? This whole thing of chasing beauty, when we're constantly looking at which mascara, and there's nothing wrong. Let me be very clear. There's nothing wrong with being playful and expressing and color and artistry. I think that's something that many of us, many humans, especially women, something we're drawn to very naturally. Like I'll create my own jewelry and my own little outfits. I really, really love putting my own stamp because representation matters. It matters to me. What I'd like to see, if you don't see yourself represented or you don't see what you want and you have a vision in your mind's eye, only you can put it out there. The way that my hair grows and the way that it behaves, it's not being represented. So I have chosen to take 110 percent responsibility for my health. And it keeps bringing me back to this thing of beauty. So I realized, is it really beauty that I'm looking for? Because beauty, somebody else is setting the standard. And I realized it's not so much as beauty, it's confidence. It's confidence. It's like I realized many years ago that I would choose beauty, or now I'd say more sensuality over sexiness, which I think triggers a lot of younger women. It did definitely mean when you come into your own as a woman and you start developing and you want to be appealing, to other humans, for them to choose you for intimate relationships or, to provide for you or to dote on you. We get dolled up and, we want to peacock, but somebody else is writing the narrative and the script. And this affects our spending. It really affects us putting ourselves in harm's way in order to be chosen. We've put our body temples, our psyche, our mental and emotional health, risk future generations in order to be chosen. To me, I think this is pretty deep. Well, who has a vested interest in unpacking this? So I really invite you to consider rewriting your narrative in question. Listen, perhaps in your quiet moments, to your own internal dialogue, because it's going by at lightning speed, and this is driving our habitual behaviors. It definitely shows up in mindless consumption of wanting to use other human beings' bodies as pacifiers to soothe our emotions. Definitely in mindless eating of quote unquote snacks or recreational eating that doesn't beautify or youthen or refresh our skin. This need to soothe ourselves artificially, it's really, really something. It's definitely a pattern and a formula. So I realized I would prefer, just like sensuality is something different than just sexiness. Again, somebody else controls that narrative. But sensuality, in terms of appreciating, the nuances of being a woman, those energies that are masculine and feminine, right? Strength, assertiveness. Some people would say aggressiveness, but assertiveness is a quality that is necessary in life for anyone, especially as a woman, to advocate for yourself. If you need to have something built, or you're making a business deal, or so that you're not run over, or if you're in a sea of people, to state your contribution. So a lot of this is confidence. Is it really beauty, or is it confidence and health? When you are healthy and your body's at a nice healthy weight, which your body knows how to fall to, and when you feel strong in your body and you feel like you can move and you can defend yourself, and also you can dance and you can express yourself, that will automatically give you a sense of confidence, accomplishment, whether that's physical, whether that's studying. That breeds a real sustainable type of confidence that no one could take away from you. But when it's beauty, someone else is deciding what the picture is, right? And this basil is very beautiful. Somebody's deciding what the picture is, what the makeup, the whole shoot, the whole orchestration, and you're not at the center. You're not at the center. So this really has me thinking, like, the chasing of beauty throws off your focus on your goals, your aspirations for your life. It throws off your health, your esteem, and your focus. So I have made a conscious decision to go back and reclaim it, because changing your beauty standard, it's an inside job. Again, it's one thing to have all these palettes, but I don't know, in your quiet moments, and anything I say is not the truth, it's just one woman's perspective. it's like we think that these alterations to the outside parts, carrying around artificial pieces. Now, if I, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, and I'm not knocking anybody for whatever their surgeries or whatever alterations are. But we can see now, you can even look on YouTube and see that just altering yourself physically in a way that's temporary, especially when our bodies are going to age, we don't know the long term effects. We think, or we're being sold, that this will alter how we feel about ourselves. And it won't, because it's reliant on somebody else. Somebody has decided on the cup size. How does that validate what you have? And even if you do an alteration, the body is not stagnant. It's still going to change. It is still going to change. That's just the nature, of life. So confidence in what you have. I know for me, if this was hanging on by a shoestring, I would just cut it off. I'd probably get creative with some natural henna on my scalp, or I can do beady beads or whatever. That sense of confidence that goes with, not only in my acceptance, I can celebrate and be creative with what I have. I can do gel if I want to, but I don't have to. I'm not beholden. I don't have to be on a whole stroll to somebody else's narrative, because the other narrative, it's triggering cyclical, looping patterns of consumption. It's triggering knee jerk behaviors. It's triggering what we're putting out, what we're seeking. It's all of this stuff chasing of beauty for somebody else's validation that has us buying more and more products. It's insatiable. It's like we're working just to spend for more products to get validated by who? By who? I think it causes almost like an insanity. So it triggers a lot of habitual behaviors. So I know I decided to opt out, and everybody wants to feel better. Everybody wants to feel better, but someone else's narrative, other entities that are looking to peddle products to me that have their own agendas for whatever their wealth is, they have set the standard for beauty. But what does beauty, right? And over here, context is everything. Context is so important for discernment in these times. Discernment in these times is so critical. Beauty in the everyday context means acceptance. Usually it means you're being chosen. Usually it will, it'll show its face in terms of competition with other women to be seen as the most beautiful. But we can also see them in the most stunning, beautiful women in the world have been abused. Halle Berry, them being beautiful didn't stop them from being cheated on or mistreated. It didn't equate necessarily to character. It didn't mean that some women that are quote unquote beautiful aren't slitting their wrists, or that they aren't just as harassed. So beauty, in my narrative, and you perhaps will decide what that is for you. I've decided that beauty for me is health and being relaxed through all the different phases of life. Whether it's I have a pimple, acne, or breakout, to sit in my skin. That's like, it's a mental illness that comes when you can't relax with your cycle, or bloat, or whatever it is that you're experiencing along your human journey. So for me, I was like, the insanity. I'm like, put the garlic, put the garlic up, and I'm like, this is what it is. This is what it is. And so I feel confident. I traded in so-called beauty for health and for confidence that is not reliant on what other people look like, or what their fickle whims are, what they want to put on the fashion, agenda. What I'm prioritizing in my life, health and beauty and confidence, comes from relaxation. Right? My focus, my attention is such a valuable currency. It is co-opted like that in pursuing at a manic pace to be chosen by others, and to be validated by others. Because if folks ain't checking for you, and if they don't demonstrate respect and they're not really into you, I don't know that there's enough makeup or enough work that you can do to demand that from other people, right? And even if they are giving you attention, do you want yourself? Do you respect yourself? Not just in words, not just psychological rhetoric. Is that showing up in what you feed yourself? how you rest yourself and paying yourself first with your movement practice. Do you pay yourself first, or do you always have this lack mentality? It's not enough time for me. That makes zero sense. How are you working so hard and you don't have enough time to nourish yourself? And so I just want to encourage you in your lifestyle practices. These are things that you have access to. A garden, whether you're in a room, an apartment, a house, whether you have a yard, deeply therapeutic. Your garden, your personal movement practice, peaceful consumption. Peaceful consumption, as I like to call it, peaceful to your literal reproductive organs, peaceful to the control center of your brain, peaceful to your mood. Your consumption, biggest to a foundation, is what you're feeding yourself and your brain, that nourishment in your cells, but also your consumption of energy of people who you're allowing into your sacred orifices, or you're allowing folks and not being aware, just like eating cans of chips and colorings, or you are just allowing any old person to deposit their liquids and secretions into your orifice that throw off your pH balance, also that affect you emotionally and mentally, because this is something that a lot of times we're allowing it. So I've made a decision to accept 110% responsibility for what I'm allowing, because we can continue to sit and we might be right in what has been done to us. However, do we ever check what we have done to us and what we have allowed? Sometimes that could be maybe even more vicious than what other people have done to us. So the only one that really has a vested interest in your transformation is you. I'm not there with you in your quiet moments. So hopefully this message, as I'm moving around here quietly in the early day, hopefully this can spark something. Hopefully this can maybe perhaps shorten your learning curve, because we're driving ourselves crazy sometimes, chasing folks with no character. That don't mean you're a lick of good. And it's a looping pattern. It's a looping pattern, placing ourselves in harm's way, turning ourselves inside out every which way to Sunday to be chosen. We haven't even chosen ourselves. And somebody chooses you. If you choose you, it's going to show up in a couple of places. You will show up on your calendar as a consistent, respected appointment. You will show up on your calendar. You will show up on your checkbook in terms of the quality of what you are feeding your reproductive organs, your skin. How can we want pretty skin and paying for all of these products, and then we're eating stuff that we know? I'm not there with you in your quiet moments. We don't need to blast it over. See, it's really when you're in your quiet moments, but we're feeding ourselves things that we don't believe is in alignment with what we say we value and with our goals, for ourselves. Greetings, fallen skies, and Sonia, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. So, this is an age of a lot of rhetoric, and there's so much that's triggering us, just triggering human beings, definitely triggering, Afro people. I feel like sometimes we're on a whole stroll with everyone now. Everybody, even folks of our same melanated skin tone, have gotten hip to the formula of what I call triggeration. So we've got constant knee-jerk reactions. Somebody comes in a package that we like, whether they have locks or blonde, whatever. It's not the package, but we're being triggered to follow. At the end of the day, did you get a new life skill? Increased joy, increased health, independent? Do you still feel turned out? Are we just followers of people on screens? Is it landing in anything tangible? Only you can say. I know for me, as I say, I needed to be free. I needed to be able to relax. I needed to be, and it's something constant, to feel grounded, irrespective for me of religion, political leaders, religious leaders, because direct connection. At this point, I'm over just the middleman, and it's a process. After several decades, it's still a process, but I can discern patterns. And if we get quiet, we can discern more. And removing a lot of distraction We can discern more. Discernment is so key right now. So I'm not saying to live an impoverished lifestyle, that you don't like things. I love nice things, but there's a balance. And only you can say in your quiet moments, the distraction is on steroids right now, and it is affecting our mental health and our ability to focus on what is important. You can live a simple yet luxurious lifestyle. You can eat food that's delicious. It's simple. But when we understand our psyche, there are entities that are understanding our psyche and triggeration more than us. And I don't know that it's serving us. So I invite you to observe, which I do, your own vices, your fixations, which some folks will call addictions, your chosen distractions, right? I'm not immune, but I make it have to be aware, right? And work with myself. Your chosen distractions on these screens, right? And your quiet moments. Rather than condemning yourself, with a healthy sense of curiosity about what it is that you're drawn to and what you're getting out of that interaction. And wherever you are on your personal journey, I invite you to slow down. This is so simple, to breathe and to activate your awareness, to be present. And I'm just going to move forward today with just saying there's something that just stood out, a little nugget that stood out the other day, that someone said. Consciousness today, and all this talk of consciousness is so much information on chakras and quantum physics and stuff, all the stuff being on the internet. Someone made a distinction that I thought was very valuable, and said that your consciousness is independent of your memory. And that stood out for me. And he said your consciousness is actually not affected by your memory. Now, I thought that was really, really interesting, right? Because some people say spirit or whatever you want to call it, but there's something, an essence of us that is primordial, that was before we put on this human suit. When everybody on this internet will take off this human suit, that's a fact. And that's so loaded and so triggered. That fact can trigger a lot of fear for many of us. The unknown is one of the ways that we can be open and can be easily manipulated. But there's something within us that can't be touched. That is, I would say, is calm. It's beyond a language. That's beyond anyone's interpretation. And I think from that to space, where we can get grounded, that essence is not some folks sitting in a boardroom deciding, which model is going to peddle which product to us. So definitely this journey of radical self-acceptance and being able to sit with yourself and to prioritize health, I found is so valuable. So y'all let me know what you think inside of the comments. I'm inviting you all to create a great day, whatever is going on purpose. You can really choose to orchestrate, because then one part of your mind be like, I can't create a great day. Look at the bills. Look what's going on in the world. You can switch the channel of your frequency just by nourishing a plant, by drinking a glass of water. We can have a tendency to really underestimate these very, very simple things. So that being said, a couple of tools that I have available for folks that have asked me in terms of what I'm doing. Natural Beauty, no products. My body has healed itself, right? Because I'm not anybody's healer. I may be a catalyst and have information and give you direction, but your body knows what to do. It really does. It really does. When you get out of the way and just stop stuffing it with stuff masquerading as food. So if you want to see what I've been doing with my hair, and I literally put fruits and vegetables on my face. And there are folks periodically that approach me to sell products, but I can't sell your products because I don't use them. And that was one of the most liberating things, getting rid of all of those products. So I feel free. It's not a whole bunch of products in my bathroom. You'll find some essential oils, some baking soda, some olive oil, some coconut oil. That's it. If I can't eat it, it's not going on my body or my skin. So Natural Beauty, no products. What I've used for conditioners, fruits and vegetables on my face, that's available. It's no products. It's only food. That's available on bodyculinary.com. And then also the guide if you'd like some insight into a natural living lifestyle, whole living foods in the hood, with menus to fit your budget, different types of spending plans, and all the different types of ideas for what you can prepare whole, fresh living, unprocessed, right? Whether that's some shopping at the wholesaler, the food co-op, the bulk section at the health food store. Gotten really creative with what I call the ways of the mothers and the grandmothers with whatever is available to me. And I think that can be very valuable in these times. Being preparedness, knowing how to flip those lentejas, those lentils, the aguacate, food preservation of the food, what's in it, growing what's in your yard, identifying who the local farmers are, how to store up your stuff, real food that your brain and your cells can recognize. It is a life skill. It is something I think that is beyond this whole situation that's going on globally. It's a life practice, right, that has served me for decades and continues to serve me. It has been consistent. So I put pictures in there. I put all the tips that could perhaps shorten your learning curve for what I've been doing for many years. And it is possible if you want to do that. People say raw. I have a tendency not to go so much a label because we can ego trip with the label. I like to focus on whole living foods. You can decide on the ratios. The beautiful thing is, as you consume more whole, fresh, unprocessed foods, your body's going to communicate. It's going to push out waste. It's going to clear up your skin. Your body knows what to do. So I compiled that guide that's available on body-culinary.com. There will be different events coming up. And I often think of like how to share with people in a way that doesn't deplete me. I'm not trying to be anybody's savior. I invite everyone to take 110% responsibility for yourself now more than ever. So I'm not anybody's judge. I'm not the hair police or the food police. But if you are anybody, but especially as a melanated human, and if you are drinking certain pops, right? And if you're consuming certain substances masquerading as food at this time, no need to beat yourself up. I invite you in your quiet moments to ask yourself why with a healthy sense of curiosity. The information is out there. So this is not the time to be second guessing ourselves. And it is a beautiful, enjoyable lifestyle. So if you can't get to me immediately I got to get into the garden and I have some appointments. But if you can't get to me, I would recommend that you get hold of that guide because I just really thought of everything that I would have liked somebody to tell me to shorten the learning curve, and I put it inside of that guide. That's going to give you a lot of information, shopping, all that stuff. There's also a preparedness training. There's a healthy eating for men seminar on there. So I can't be there for everyone, but I put certain tools in place. I invite you to avail yourself of that, create some kind of support for yourself at this time. So you have support to get into your garden. Support is one of my biggest tools in my toolbox. And if you don't have those people around you, create some support. Create unapologetically, create some positive support for yourself that lands in an activity, that lands, if it ain't landing in the garden, I've been saying this for years, you ain't talking about fruits and vegetables, you ain't talking about the garden, you ain't talking about capoeira or some double dutch or some activity, then what the heck are we talking about? If we're not helping each other sharpen some skills, then what the heck are we doing? So I love to come together around an activity. So I'm also getting something and someone is getting someone. Reciprocal relationships. This is time to use discernment. So y'all create a great day on purpose. Good morning, Miss Ray. I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I'm going to jump off of it. I got to go water these plants, new stuff going into the garden. I do have some offerings, Kwasapeacefull, KWASA, peaceful, like full belly, eating on TikTok. I post from time to time on Instagram. And actually, if you scroll back, you'll see a lot between this channel. If you go through this channel, there's a lot on living foods, gardening. I'm not like, I don't have a whole YouTube studio and all that stuff. I kind of don't move like that. Kind of move on a vibe, and I got stuff to do. A garden is a lot of work. That's why I don't want to be playing around in my hair all day. I like a little style, but I got stuff to do. So I want to feel free to breathe, roll on the floor, get my movement practice in, run, jump, play, and have some joy while I'm out here on this 3D plane. So I invite y'all to do the same. What about deodorant? Okay, Fallen Skies. Deodorant, I have tried every natural deodorant on the market. And as somebody that's worked as a personal trainer for many decades, I can't be funky and stinky. And I can't have no cheering around me that's funky and stinky or any of my colleagues. So I tried everything natural. I'll tell you what, if I go right there again in my medicine chest, baking soda. I use baking soda and I put sometimes a few drops of essential oils. That's it. If I'm not mistaken, I think that may be a natural beauty, no products, but that's my secret. It works. I don't smell funky, and it's not an antiperspirant. So that is a principle that may take something for people to wrap their minds around, because you will sweat. But I want to sweat right through my lymphatic. I have baking soda under there right now. So that will fade at some point so you won't see it, but I won't be funky. And if I'm working out and I'm moving vigorously, right, in my movement practice, I'll rinse off and wash off again and reapply baking soda. But I want to sweat my inguinal crease, the areas where your lymph nodes, where you drain lymph, one of the watery channels of the body. You want to be able to sweat. So we think it may not be, look, we're so focused on the look, we're not thinking of the function of the body. We need to sweat. We just don't want to stink. I don't like to smell myself. I don't want to stink. I don't eat junk. I don't eat flesh at this point in my life. I used to eat a lot of junky food. So perhaps you want to look at, are you eating enough whole grain? I know people say veggies. I like to say vegetables to drive home the impact of vegetables. That's one of the areas. The bitters and the greens and the sour foods are what people avoid. When I would say, and we talk more about that in the lunchtime classes, common sense nutrition and efficient fitness. Usually around lunchtime, you can ask all those questions. But what you're eating, right? We don't want to just keep thinking, put a pill and put a cream on top of it, right? What you're eating, if you have stuff in your mouth, old food, and you're not brushing your teeth, even with living foods, and you have lots of sugar and starch, rotting food in your mouth will make you smell. If we have I say this all the time, we have a lot of undigested meals fermenting in our bellies. The stomach is not big. I don't know if folks did the assignment for how big is your stomach. You can let me know in the community section if you did that assignment. Look and see how big your stomach is. So if you look at how big your actual stomach is, you may realize many of us are eating to the point of deformity. We're deforming the body, right? Because we're using food as more recreational to soothe ourselves. So without demonizing ourselves, it's one of the reasons why I invite you to a healthy sense of curiosity, right? A healthy sense of curiosity. But we're smelling and we're looking like what we're doing, right? And even if we decide today we're going to change, we're going to do a fast, and we're going to run a marathon, we got to pay the tab for what we've been doing for all of these years, right? We are a walking, living, breathing representation of all of our habitual habits and just where our mind is. Our body's showing how we've been managing stress and the different things that we've been avoiding dealing with mentally and emotionally, right? So let me get off here. Y'all create a great day on purpose. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope that answers your question, Fallen Skies. I use baking soda. You can try the crystal stone or the other natural baking deodorants. I found sometimes they work and then they stop working. Baking soda, I've come back, is tried and true. I have a cute little powder puff with baking soda, so I can delicately dab it on. And if you're not used to it yet, I wouldn't put it on right after you shave. That can cause a little irritation. You may want to put, as long as you don't have white on, a little bit of coconut oil or shea butter, just lightly underneath your arm, and then dab on the baking soda until your underarm area gets acclimated and used to the baking soda. Well, that's what I've been using. When it's tried and true, that's what I use. My aloe, my cactus juice, that's what I'm using. And primarily, it's about what I'm putting in on the inside and what I don't do. It's not just adding $5 million, or that's an exaggeration, but thousands of dollars worth of products. We keep adding spirulina on top of doo-doo. We're putting all these expensive products on top of junk. Detox, retox. You go get 3 colonics and keep putting all kinds of overly processed, lifeless, processed starches on top of it. So we're not even going to get the most benefit out of all the money we're spending on these different products. All right, y'all, have a great day. Get on the mailing list. I invite you. I don't like to tell grown folks what to do, to get on the mailing list, because I'm doing more content in some private events, again, around preparedness, getting into your garden because of it's deeply therapeutic. Getting into your movement practice, learning how to work around your injuries. This is for esteem, confidence, focus, right? And then you don't have to worry about the looks. When you are healthy, that is when we are at our most radiant glow. Also, when you're vibrant because of your mood, right? We need a physiological and mental and emotional release. There's so much that the garden and your movement practice is giving you, and a foundational tool is whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods that you can recognize as foods, and finding your sweet spot for how much it is that you need, making sure the quality is good and that they're nutrient dense and that it's sustainable. So I'll see you in the early morning Hit It and Quit It and Flower Fit. Primarily right now that's focused on women. Waist speeds training. So a lot of the science of herbs, foods, which foods for this and that. Discussing safety and around physical intimacy and our reproductive organs and hygiene. All of that in waist speeds training. Efficient fitness, common sense, nutrition, and there are several things. I have to really think of ways that I can share these offerings in a way that is very valuable, and that similar to the way things were given to me, they're nuggets that will keep activating and keep serving you. Much, much more efficient. And then only reading a book is for you to get motivated to get into action around what you say you value. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon.